Hi everyone and welcome back. We're gonna watch the intro video and then get right in to some juicy stories about the good old Niqab days. I'm here with my mother and we're gonna speak English in this video karena dulu saya pakai niqab. And yeah, I think it's interesting how you and I got along during that time.
Well, you came to visit me in Ottawa from Indonesia. I picked you up at the airport, and you were the last person off the plane. So I thought that you weren't on the flight. And then you got off when you were this little person, and you were all completely dressed in black, with the niqab, habaya, niqab, and the thing over and the thing over, and
That's right.
There's my girl.
But you recognized me right away because I remember being terrified coming off the plane because I only started wearing niqab, like the full-on niqab, like 3 days before my flight home.
And you were the last person off the plane, so it had to be you.
Right.
Anyway, but I was, so that was the entree, and then I was going to Africa for a month on business, and we were going to Ethiopia, Kenya, and Tanzania, and we were traveling with another consultant, a friend of mine, Annette, who you knew. So you came with us, and we were going to be there during Ramadan. And that was your first Ramadan as a practicing Muslim. So where do you want to start? So it takes a long time to get there. We were on the plane for ages, and then we get there and it's really hot. And we
but were you embarrassed? Were you embarrassed to travel with me like that?
No, I mean, you had converted to Islam before that because you were in Ottawa when you were doing your Islamic degree at the AOL, and so you know everything
But you supported my studies to study Islam. Like I wanted to be an Islamic scholar, and you were supporting me in that. Were you?
I was in an academic, right?
So were you? But were you like maybe because in Indonesia, that's not likely to happen, where the child changes religion and then gets full support from the parent. Especially when I took it to such an extreme. And by extreme, I just mean like really orthodox. And you seem to like be okay with it.
Yeah, well, it's a learning experience. You know, you used to get me to, or you let me read your research papers, and and then I you know, would spend a lot more time learning about Muhammad and what it was like back in those days, and you know, your papers were very interesting. So I was learning things too, learning to.
Oh, do you remember a lot about Islam from that time then? Do you remember?
Oh, I know Akbar.
Mom.
I remember Khadija. You remember
Khadija? That's good.
And Aisha. Those were the first and the last, right?
Yeah.
Aisha, yeah.
Aisha, yeah.
And you know, the story of you know, Khadija was 25 years older than he was, and she was an entrepreneur, and of course that's my area of interest. And he was working for her, so there was probably a little bit of like sexual harassment going on there. I'm not sure.
On the part of Khadija, you mean? Yeah. Well, back in the day, it was okay. Back in the day, don't judge them by today's standards.
No, she was. I mean, she did ask permission. You know, she had him asked whether he would marry her, and and he agreed. So so that was all good, and he was faithful to her as far as we know, for the number of years that they were married.
Yeah.
For somebody 25 years older than he was.
Yeah.
So so that was an interesting story. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, where'd you go? Okay, I got you back.
Yeah, I went back in on my laptop.
Okay, let's continue then. Why were you so tolerant of that? It's not something that, like, even in Canada, it's one of those things where, like, oh, how did your mom react? You know what I mean? And you were just so supportive and accepting of that. And I put you through hell. I did. And I remember, like, I took down every single one of your pictures that had a human or animal face. And I even covered up all of the pictures of the author on the back of all your books because the angels wouldn't enter the house. So to a Canadian, isn't that something that, like, should I call a psychiatrist? Like, it's so weird.
Yeah,
It must have been so weird for you.
that time I had to go out of town for business, and so I came back the next day or the day after, and I walked into the house and I thought we were moving because everything was off the walls. Because most of the stuff I have on the walls does have a face in it, and so you had taken down every picture off the wall. I thought, oh my God, we're moving. What's going on?
No, you
we
walked in.
We were robbed.
You said we were robbed. You were so
we
freaked
were
out.
robbed.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a pretty liberal person, and you know, and learning is important to me. And you were learning, and you were very devoted to it. You were very committed to it, and you were very dedicated. And you really grabbed a hold of it, which is something that you hadn't done a lot of before that, right? You know, you lost interest in things, or, you know, you didn't follow through, or no, not a drifter, but you were looking, you were searching, and so anyway, you found this, and yeah, you were adorable, and you were so lovely and so sweet and gentle and
really?
kind, and you were like, oh my God, she's an angel now. Mm.
Oh, I just don't remember it the same way. But you remember me as an angel?
You were so sweet and kind and generous, and I mean, you know, you had your rules, things you would not tolerate. You wouldn't listen to no music, no radio, no TV. You spent a lot of time in your room. Anyway, I had to go to Africa on this mission, so you came with us, and
yeah, you and Annette, yeah.
Yeah, with Annette and I, and of course you had to sit in the aisle seat, because you couldn't sit in the middle seat, and because somebody might have been sitting on the window seat, and you couldn't risk sitting beside a man. And there were some really There's the time that I had to go to the airport in Ottawa for some reason, and I sort of run in and get something and run out. So I parked in a place where I'm not supposed to park. And you were in the car, and the car was running. And I said, if the police come, because they give you a ticket if you leave your car there, if the police come, just get in the driver's seat and say, oh, we're just leaving, and drive around and come back and pick me up. The policeman came over to the car, and you wouldn't look at him because it was a man, and you wouldn't talk to him. So we gave you a ticket, and I came out, and it's like, why didn't you? He said, he wanted me. He got mad at me because I wouldn't look at him and I wouldn't talk to him. And so, yeah.
It was yes. I remember that moment vividly. And
that cost me $75.
Yeah, and it's those things, that stubbornness. 'Cause I thought it was these things that was going to get me into heaven. I thought these are the sacrifices, like feeling this way, feeling horrible about this police officer, like, because obviously I insulted him. So I feel bad about that, but I'm going to go to heaven for it. Like that's the sacrifice I have to make. The way that I thought at that time was just bizarre.
Well, that's the belief. So
Well, that was what I believed at the time. Others would disagree because not everybody.
and there are a good number of Muslims in Ottawa, and some wear habaya, and scarf, but many of them don't.
Yeah.
But I never saw anybody in Ottawa with everything, right? So anyway, and then you wouldn't drive my car.
We don't go out much.
No, you don't go out much. You went to your Muslim prayer group, and that was
I went
nice.
to sisters' meetings. You went to
the mosque on Fridays.
To the mosque on Fridays for Friday prayer, and I went to there was like a Islamic center. Yeah. And you would drop me off at the Islamic center. You would go to work all day, and then pick me up, I would spend the whole day reading in the Islamic center.
I know.
Yeah.
I know, and being friends with others, helping others. So and you wouldn't drive, you had your license, but you wouldn't drive my car. And I had the little 450 SL Mercedes at the time. And then finally you relented and you went, okay, I'll take the car, right? And then you came back and you were so upset because you were stopped at a stoplight, and some boys were at the corner and they were making fun of you. They said, "Oh, look at the ninja driving the Mercedes."
No, they were skinheads, Mom. I was terrified because your window didn't roll up. So the left window was broken.
We know why my window didn't roll up.
Oh, because of the flooding? That big rain?
No, no, because one of your friends took a baseball bat and.
Oh, is that why? Oh, that's another story for another time.
We don't want to do that story.
Yeah.
Anyway, so.
Yeah, no, because there were skinheads, and the light was red, and the window didn't roll up. They think I'm from Afghanistan because they don't know I'm a local, and yeah, they just said, "Hey, look at Taliban in the Mercedes." And
I thought they called you Ninja.
They called me Taliban in the Mercedes, and they had the what do you call it? I've been in Indonesia too long. I forgot the word. Suspenders. They had the suspenders and the boots. Anyway, that scared me. That scared me. I almost ran that light.
Scary people. Yeah. I'm just adjusting my time. I can't. Okay. So we go to Africa. My first recollection of a bad experience was when we were trying to get through immigration at the Ethiopia airport in Addis Ababa. And they were all males, all men at the immigration counters. And so Annette's in front of us, and she goes through, and then you're next. And we get in front of the male immigration officer, and he wants you to take off your niqab. He wants to see your face, and you won't take it off. And he said, "Well, then you can't get in. I've seen your face. See your face. No, you're not seeing my face. It's against my religion. Well, if you want to get into Ethiopia, you have to show me your face." And so we're not going to show him your face. So there was a lineup behind us, of course. And I said, "What are we going to do?" And you said, "Well, eventually there'll be a shift change, and maybe there'll be a female."
I said that? Oh, that's.
You asked for a female immigration officer, and he said, "There's nobody here. You show it to me." So you thought, well, we'll stay here for the shift change. In the meantime, Annette's already out at the carousel, and she has her bags, and she's wondering when we're going to come through. So there's long lineups at the different counters, and in another line further back, there are some Saudi Arabian men, who were dressed in their white robes and their headgear.
Yeah.
I'm not using the right language here. And anyway, you said, "Oh, there's my brothers. I'm going to go ask them." Oh my God, they're Saudi Arabians.
Wasn't that incredible? Wasn't that?
You went back to the Saudi men,
Yeah.
And you explained your dilemma, and they said, "Okay, dear, we'll take care of it." And
Oh
they
yeah.
came up to the immigration counter.
Like
He's
an
still is
army, like an army of Muslim brothers defending niqabi sash.
It's true. There were maybe 6 of these Saudi Arabian
Yeah.
religious men, and the immigration officer still would not. He would not accept their arguments or anything.
Yeah.
So
But they continued to fight until the end.
eventually,
Yeah.
we were there the longest time, right? And then eventually, they got a woman
Yeah.
immigration officer
Yeah.
to come. But it was, I don't know, an hour or something in the
Yeah.
heat in that dreadful
And
immigration center.
poor Annette. Poor
Yeah.
Annette. What? No, so my question is, why did you never break? Why didn't you just break and say, Sasha, show your goddamn face? Like, let's go. Poor Annette. Like, why didn't you ever break? You never broke.
No, because I respected the principle of the whole thing, and he was just being totally intolerant.
Oh, and do you remember? Because in Canada they are generally more tolerant, I'm going to say, at the airports, at security, than in developing countries. And when we were going through immigration in Canada, I was dressed in full garb, black head to toe. I think I even covered my eyes at some points. And they let me go in, and they made you take off your jacket, and you were only wearing a camisole underneath.
I don't know why we were in Washington, D.C., and I don't know why where we were coming back. I don't know why we were there. Anyway, it was a U.S. airport, and it's after 9/11, of course. And I don't like going through immigration at any U.S. airport.
No.
Anyway, but and that day I was really concerned about you because you were completely, completely covered, and we were in different lines. You were in line beside me, so I thought, oh my God, like, okay, you go first in that line, and I'll go in this line, and so I'll be behind you and everything. And all of a sudden, I look, and you're already cleared through. And I'm practically undressed, like my jacket, my sweater, my shoes, they open my suitcase, my handbag. They're going through the whole thing, and
Yeah.
you're at the other end waiting for me. Like what? Anyway, yeah. So that was Ethiopia, and then of course a lot of other things happened there, which had nothing to do with you being covered, but in Addis Ababa, and then we had to go to some rural, I guess it was a city, more like a town.
Yeah, what was that village? Daru something.
Oh, I had it until you did that.
Oh, okay.
It'll come to me because it was on my tongue, and then you.
Okay, sorry.
El Badar or something like that. Anyway,
yeah.
And dirt roads and.
Yeah, what were you doing there? In that area?
Doing interviews. It was a project on women's entrepreneurs, and we were doing interviews with government officials and stuff, and we were just trying to get a rural picture of the situation.
Okay.
So
you would go out and do interviews. You would work. You had stuff to do, and I was just tagging along.
We had meetings all day.
And I couldn't talk to men. And in Africa, there are fewer women outside, like doing stuff. It's usually men on the street. So I had no choice but to talk to children. So I found a little boy, the one in the green vest. He had a school uniform on. He spoke English.
He went to practice his English, yeah.
And he must have played soccer and stuff with the street kids. So he introduced me to the street kids, and he would translate. And he told me about them, and we could talk to each other through this little boy. And I said, oh, let's go to my hotel room, which was your room too. And let's go hang out and eat bananas and chocolate bars. My treat, right? And so we went into the hotel room, and the little boys, the street boys, they ate as much as they could. And they said what they really wanted was a bath. And so we let them go take a bath, and I sat out on the porch with that little 8-year-old.
Shower.
A shower.
Yeah.
A shower. And they were in there for so long. And after a half hour, I got the little boy to knock on the door, and he came back and said, "Oh, they're taking a long time because they're washing their underwear."
I know,
and it was
so
just
sweet,
like, wow. And when I went into the bathroom after they were finished, there was mud everywhere. Like just
they were dirty.
The dirt coming off of them. The soap was brown.
Well, they were street kids. They lived on the street and back alleys and stuff.
And then when they left, I gave them some. Like I didn't have much, but I like to give things away because I want to go to heaven.
And so brought them all a bunch of clothes.
So I gave them like half my clothes, like batik shirts and stuff. And then I gave them the rest of the food.
You bought them clothes at the used
another day.
Clothing market, right?
Another day.
Lots of.
But I remember when I gave them the bananas and they were leaving, I watched them walk away, and the little boy in an oversized batik was carrying this like heavy bag of bananas, and he got jumped by the other kids. Because they were like, "You got bananas? Share!" And he was, they took all of his snacks that I gave him, the little 6-year-old.
Well, that's the El Badar, I think it was called. So we're checking into the hotel, and Annette's first, and you fill the forms out and everything, and the bags are all there, and he's this kid who speaks English, right? Who was following us, he wanted to carry our bags because he wanted to get some money, and you had taught me already. Always to have little bills in your pocket, like, it's all paper money, right? So, like,
50 cents, a dollar,
yeah. So it's 10 cents or something. But you have to be careful in Ethiopia though, because as soon as one kid sees you give one kid money, 50 kids are going to come and be asking too. Anyway, we'll come back to that. So we're checking into the hotel, and then this this kid, he's maybe 10. He comes up to me and he says, where are you from? And I said, we're from Canada. And he said, who's that? He's pointing at you, and you're completely in the black, and your face is covered and the whole thing. And he goes, well, who's that? And I said, that's my daughter. And he said, no, it's not. And I said, yes, it is. Why wouldn't it be my daughter? And he said, because she doesn't look like you. No. And he said, well, if she is your daughter, you should tell her that she shouldn't dress like that around here. And I said, why not? And he said, well, because nobody dresses like that around here. You should tell her not to do that. I said, well, I'm sorry, I can't tell her not to dress like that. So that's just the way it's going to be. Because there are Muslims in Ethiopia. Yeah. But
the Christians that I saw, they were, I don't know, is it Coptic Christian? It's some sort of, some sort of brand of Christianity, but they were wearing face coverings, white. They looked like me, only completely white. The women were covering their face there.
Well, I didn't notice that. It would only be the very, very, very religious ones. They're not generally out in the street, but the women out at the market and the Muslims are not. They may wear a scarf, but they're not. They're not robed like you were, right? So tell her she shouldn't. Tell her not to dress. Tell her she shouldn't dress like that. Nobody dresses like that. No, she's not your daughter. She doesn't look like you.
Yeah.
Anyway, they adored you by the end of 5 days. So then that first day, so we check into the hotel and we change our clothes and everything, and then it's a Sunday, I think, and then we go, let's walk down the dirt street here to see what's going on. And we went for a walk, and the little street kids started to come, and we gave them some money, and then you said, no, let's not give them money, because somebody could be paying them to somebody could be getting them to come and ask the tourists for money, because obviously we're tourists.
Yeah, they might have a boss or whatever.
So we should get food. We should buy, chocolate bars or fruit or whatever. So we did. We went in the store and we bought a bag full of enough for everybody, right? Like 50 of whatever, and came out, and you started to give it to the kids, and then we had this great big
mob.
little
Yeah.
ones, like 4 and 5 years old, and six,
Yeah. It
7, 8,
went from 3 kids to 10 kids to 50 kids.
30.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't wait. We said, no, 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 it's enough for everybody. And then they'd come and push the other kids and grab it and take it. And so we say, no, no, no. You say, no, we have enough for everybody. Everybody can have something. And then the police came
Yeah. And hit them with a
with a
baton.
club
Yeah.
and started beating the kids.
Yeah.
And we were going, oh, we were horrified, right? Like, no, no, we're here to give them the food. We're good. And they said, okay, it's time for you people to go back to the hotel. They made us leave too. They made us go back to the hotel.
Yeah. Yeah. We were
Yeah.
escorted by the police back to our hotel. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, I get you into trouble, don't I?
Well, we have story to tell, don't we? Story to tell. Poor Annette.
I know, poor Annette. Poor Annette. Yeah. And I remember you didn't like to stay in the same room with Annette when you were traveling because Annette snores. And oftentimes you would end up sleeping in the bathtub because Annette was snoring. I hope Annette doesn't watch it and she might not want me to share that information. But yes, many times we would find Lois Stevenson in the bathtub sleeping. And so she was like, this time I don't want to sleep with Annette, I'm going to sleep with Sasha. And because it was Ramadan, I was up and doing my Taraweeh prayers at Tahajjud time. So I'd set my alarm for like 2 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the morning. And I would be going until, after Subuh, like after sunrise. And I wasn't that loud, was I? But I was probably doing a lot of whispering, like, like there's like.
Well, we had a room that had a balcony outside. And it was a big hallway. So, but yeah, so you decided I have to work every day, right? I had to get up at 7:30, whatever, have breakfast, go out for meetings all day. I had to be awake for those meetings, whereas you could sleep all day. So, so Ramadan starts, and then you're going to do your extra prayer, and then you prayed all night long, and you were praying out loud. You were chanting. Sometimes you were crying, and I couldn't sleep, and I went, oh, what am I going to do? Like, it's like I have to sleep. So, and then you wouldn't take any malaria tablets because that would be, Allah will take care of you.
Okay.
So you're not going to do any drugs. And there's tons of mosquitoes, right? So I thought, well, I can't put her out on the balcony because she'll get eaten alive with mosquitoes at night. And so you went out in the hallway, and in the hallway at the hotel outside the door, and you prayed there for a while until other people complained.
Yeah,
they couldn't sleep.
No, yeah. So we did have a solution for that. And
what was it?
Well, I would go out into the hallway, and I was more respectful.
Eventually, you went out on the balcony.
In the balcony, and then we went to, and then finally, when that was under control, then we moved to that never was under place, that village, and
Bahir
whatever it was,
yeah,
whatever village that was, they did the exact same thing as me, only with a loudspeaker. Starting at 3 a.m., the chanting would start on the loudspeaker, like Indonesian style. Only it was Christianity, I think they're Coptic Christians. I'm pretty sure.
No, I don't think they're Coptics. Anyway, there was also the call to prayer, though. They also, there was a lot of stuff going on early in the morning.
Yeah. And so you were like, I thought you were going to go insane because you were so overtired and.
Yeah. So you went out anyway. You didn't get bitten by mosquitoes, and you didn't get malaria, and we survived.
Yeah. Anyway, so you were tolerant of me. Do you think I was tolerant of you? Or do you think
We're-
I wasn't?
You got mad at me when I would disturb you during your all-night prayer because I wanted to know why you did it. Yes, you do extra prayers during Ramadan, but uh, I mean, I did know some Islamic people, and I didn't know anybody who prayed all night. And you said you prayed all night because that's what Muhammad did. He prayed all night.
Yeah, because I was unemployed and I had.
Well, that's not no. Well,
Now I would say that the Muslims in your network are, you know, PhDs, you know, the minister of whatever, like, and they don't have time to do this, and their worship is probably in their work, providing value and service to humanity through their work. I, on the other hand, went the worship option and tried to get my ticket to heaven through prayer, because I had time to do that. But I don't think many Muslims do have time in this day and age.
the other interesting thing was I don't know if it was in Nairobi or if it was in Dar es Salaam, but you wanted to go to the mosque, and the women don't go to the mosque.
No,
And they had
that
a
really
reason
upset
why.
me.
Yeah, very upset because they said, "Well, the mosque isn't that big." I forget what they said, but we don't
have room
we're
for
so
women.
sorry. There's no room for women here.
Yeah.
And then you were
Yeah.
you almost got into legal. You almost got put in jail for that, causing disturbance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how we got.
Anyway,
And
when
then-
I kind of like, I slowly changed back into what I am now, or morphed into what I am now over time. But when I decided to just shift over to a more relaxed and moderate human being, I was so embarrassed of my past. I thought that Indonesians would think less of me, so the Indonesians in my community would think less of me. People in my Muslim community might look at me in not disgust, but like, aduh, kasihan. Oh,
I know,
look at
there's
her,
a lot
she's
of
gonna
judgment.
She's gonna go to hell now. Oh, like, and I
There's
didn't
a lot of judgment.
So I didn't want them looking at me that way, and I was
Right.
embarrassed that other people would think I was crazy. So the other moderate Indonesians, I thought they would think I was crazy. Or maybe in some way, like, oh, you can put on jilbab, but you can never take it off. Like, there's that feeling in Indonesia anyway. So there wasn't a community where I felt comfortable, like, coming out as an ex-Niqabi. And in Canada, I felt a bit embarrassed because, you know, would people think I was crazy? So I didn't come out. I came out on YouTube eventually because I was like, you know what? I'm just going to be proud of my past. I am who I am. It is what it is, you know?
Yeah, when you first came to Ottawa, and you were being very, just so sweet and lovely, and you were making things for the neighbors. You were making muffins and like really wholesome sugarcane muffins, and then you would, and biscuits, and you would take them over to the neighbors, and you didn't know the neighbors, right? And because I didn't know my neighbors. They didn't thought. And you were taking over these muffins for them and things. That was so sweet. But there were across the street, on the corner, was I didn't know these people, but a friend of mine did know these people, and they were telling her, they were saying, "Oh my God, our neighbor, you know, I think her grandmother must be visiting her." This little woman with all covered in black, and I think it's her grandmother. I thought you were my grandmother. I didn't know.
It must have been the Crocs.
Yeah, it must have been the Crocs.
Must have been the full-on niqab with Crocs on.
But I mean, I know
Yeah.
it wasn't easy for you when you went back to Indonesia. It wasn't easy for you to make a transition, um, because basically when you're wearing niqab is this one, right?
Yeah.
You were teaching English as a second language,
Yeah.
and you can't teach English if people can't see your mouth. Um, and yes, you
Yeah.
could work with kids, but you couldn't work with adults.
Well,
Um,
I did land one job, um, but that didn't last for very long. I had to travel quite far to get to that job,
yes,
but it was a
yes,
group
you
of
did.
Muslim women who wanted an all-female environment. They were
Yes,
adults,
right,
but again,
right.
it was really hard to work. The niqab was really in the
Yeah,
devoutness was really getting in
yeah,
the way of my
yeah, it's a barrier for your
yeah
career, for what you did to make a living.
yeah
Okay.
yeah.
So that was and you had a really hard time with that. I mean, we had phone conversations about it, and you were really stressed about that.
Yeah.
But even the Quran doesn't say that you have to wear a niqab.
I
Um,
believed, well, there are differences of opinion, but I always believed that it was something extra you could do for extra
yes.
bonus points. And I wanted the extra bonus points. So I never believed that people who didn't wear it were, sinning. I never believed
No,
that. No.
no, no.
I just wanted the extra bonus points.
But you still had a really hard time
Mm.
with that decision. Um, but you have to make a living. You have to.
Yeah.
I encourage you to make a living.
Well,
Yes, please.
well,
Work.
I explained this in like my Islam story video, but I wanted to be an Islamic scholar. So I thought there was a path to, writing books, doing speeches and lectures and stuff like that. Like I thought there was, in teaching, I thought there was a way. But
Yeah.
then I just being a female just cut my audience in half because I felt that my segment, like, they prefer men. Like, so women would want to learn from me if I reached a certain point, but men probably would prefer learning from a man, right?
Yeah, I know you
In
were
that,
very
in that, in
disappointed.
that, yeah,
Yeah.
in that group, yeah.
When you came to that realization,
Mm-hmm.
um, it was pointless because you said female Islamic scholar doesn't have any credibility.
No, and
So
it was a double
I'd be
whammy.
wasting my
Yeah, it was a double whammy
yeah.
because not only was I female, in a male-dominated field, very male-dominated field,
Yes.
but also I was a mualaf. Like I entered Islam, and here anyway in Indonesia, where I was planning on living, I don't. People would look at me as if I'll never know Islam as well as an Indonesian who
They
was
do.
born Muslim. Yeah. So I thought, oh, I got that against me. Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway.
it was rough.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Eve taking the jilbab off, you also had a difficult time with that. Because you were acting and you needed to take it off for a role. And you really struggled with that.
Yeah, but that was my faith. I mean, well, in Islam, like they call it iman, but like when your iman is like super high, there's no question. But as it
What
drops,
does iman
your
mean?
faith, your faith, I suppose. But when it's really high, then yeah, those decisions are easy. But as it comes down to a more moderate level, then if there's something that you really want, then yeah. And then once you start doing that, making those concessions or whatever, it gets easier the next time. And then it kind of spiraled into this. It was definitely like a process because I felt that, like, I felt like I was sinning when I didn't have my jilbab on. I felt that, and it's a horrible feeling. You know, like you feel like you're doing something. It would be like if you stole something, how horrible you would feel. Like that's how I felt just walking outside without a jilbab. I had to fight that feeling. Now I don't feel like that when I walk outside, but I did at that time. And it took years to change the way I thought about it.
I mean, I learned a lot from you about all of this during that time. You know, I always defend in Western culture. There's a lot of criticism. Oh, those women who are covered and you know, they're doing it because their husbands make them, and especially when the Afghanistan thing was happening, because the whole burqa thing. Um, and everybody, oh, she's wearing a burqa, and I said, no, she's not wearing a burqa. Um, and you know, because remember that time you took the bus to the mosque, and you were sitting, somebody was on the bus you knew, and you didn't really want him to know who you were, right? So
oh, I know exactly who you're talking about. Yeah,
it gives you so much. Let's call it freedom or power, right? So you can see
anonymity.
out. And
Yeah,
you can see, you can observe everything, but nobody can really observe you.
yeah,
I mean, they can see, you know,
yeah,
so it actually gives you an interesting, um,
yeah,
yeah, I'm going to use the word power, personal power. It doesn't have to be an imprisonment type of thing, which many Western culture people think that it is for women.
yeah.
I know that yeah, for sure, in some Islamic cultures, um, the women, like in
Yeah.
Afghanistan, yes,
Even back then, I would never have supported that. I was all about choice. Like I said before, even the niqab, I believed that it was a choice. It was something
that was a
extra you
choice.
could do if you want to.
That's
But
right.
enforcing somebody to wear a jilbab, I just don't agree with that at all. That's all a personal decision. You don't get any points for it if somebody makes you do it. I don't think, anyway. I'll have to go read the hadith again.
Yeah, go read the hadith
Yeah.
again. Yeah, in this village, hamlet,
Where? Where you are now?
there's lots. Yeah, well, yeah,
Oh,
like in this area,
yeah, okay.
this small
Yeah.
area. There's lots of religions. There's tons of churches, right? There's three churches right here in the village.
Yeah,
And then
okay.
in town there's Catholics and Anglicans and Baptists
And you have one
and
Muslim family?
yes, there was a Muslim family. Yeah, there was two, but I don't know how they handle I don't know how they handle
But
that fellowship.
if it's literally just him out and about, he could just pray in his office or anywhere, right?
I'm having trouble with my
But
camera. Okay,
yeah,
there we go.
or like as a
Well,
family,
when
or
I lived in Cairo for that 4 years, there's lots of mosques in Cairo, of course.
yeah,
But well, you know, when in part of the city where I lived, the Malik, they put the prayer, like on the corner. They put the prayer mats in the street, like on the
yeah,
sidewalk and in the parking lot,
yeah.
and the men all prayed there.
That's right.
Remember that?
That
Yeah.
blew my mind because that would be my style. Because in Canada, you have no choice. Like if you're waiting for a bus and it's prayer time, you take your prayer mat out of your bag and you put it on the grass or at the bus stop, in the bus stop, and you pray. So like in Canada, you have no choice. But and in Egypt, yeah, Egypt looks a lot like Indonesia. Like dust-wise,
Yeah,
there's lots
I know.
of dust, and the sidewalks are not as good. And
Well, and the you know the street life and the little kiosks
yeah,
everywhere, and
yeah,
yeah,
it's more similar to Indonesia. And in Indonesia, they would never,
yeah.
you would never find them praying on the sidewalk.
What?
No,
Really?
oh my God, najis. They would be like too concerned with what if a chicken pooped there. then my prayer would be nullified. There could be chicken poop. So purification, of course, well, you have to purify yourself spiritually, but also, the cleanliness of the environment is very important to Indonesians. And so for me, like, I understood the style in Cairo, because actually I think Indonesia goes above and beyond what is absolutely required. Because if we don't know something is there, so if there was chicken poop, if I didn't know about the chicken poop, then no problem. So I'm not going to go make my life difficult to avoid chicken poop that may or may not be there. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean,
anyway, it's a difference of opinion.
There's no chicken poop in Zamalek.
There's no chicken poop in Zamalek? There might be cicak poop.
It might have been pigeon, so.
Yeah, I think that might have something to do, though. Like, they have a different school of thought. I think they follow like the Maliki school of thought in Cairo, or maybe another school of thought. And here they follow Imam Shafi'i, which is a different scholar. And he was known for being like really careful with everything. Cairo was one of my favorite memories, visiting you in Cairo. And several over the course of several different trips, and the King Tut's tomb, and the balloon ride, and your apartment, the smell of your apartment, and all the great restaurants, and just hanging out with you, and the taxi drivers that would sexually harass you. Me, they didn't touch.
No, they didn't.
They didn't touch me. But the taxi driver would like kind of reach back. Oh, excuse me, I just need my bottle of water. I'm just gonna reach back here.
Graze your knee is here.
And grabs your leg.
Yeah, you gotta keep your knee covered there for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know, that excites them terribly. Nobody, I mean, apart from the 3 or 4 taxi drivers who were a little problematic. I felt very safe there. I could walk anywhere. At night, walk to get water or whatever. Never had any kind of fear that anybody was going to bother you. I feel very safe.
Me too.
In Muslim environments. Very, very safe. Mm-hmm. Maybe I shouldn't, but I do. Even though the streets are full of men. Yeah.
Well, so, you are a good friend to the Muslim people from before.
I respect different perspectives and views and cultures and attitudes and experiences. I might not agree with everything, but I'm very liberal and open-minded about these things, and I respect individual decisions, unless they're really out to hurt you, and that's there's extremes that anyway, you get my point. Yeah. I know my battery's 18% now. So.
Yeah, I had a great talk, but we've been on for almost an hour, so we should probably wrap it up.
But you're not gonna. They get too long, so you'll edit out.
Yeah, I wasn't going to edit, but now I will have to, because it's just huge. All right, thank you, Mom. Thank you for everything over the years, and thank you for today.
I love you. Thank you for being so wonderful.
Oh, you're just saying that to the camera. Okay, we'll talk again soon.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.